Welcome into the Fun Astrology Podcast for Tuesday, August 30th. We've got a yod in the chart, folks. Let's talk about it. It's going to be with us for several days here. Our Libra moon is in the middle degrees of moving through that sign. I was just thinking, here we are. Okay, the moon is in the middle degrees. We're going to hit this again in 2023 when everything stacks up in Aries. So I guess this is practice for things coming. But let's talk about this yod. What are the three planets? Jupiter is up at the top of if you're going to call it a witch's hat. And then the two at the bottom are the sun in Virgo and the south node in Scorpio. Now, if already karma isn't ringing in your mind with the south node in Scorpio, I mean not only karma, but the deepest karma. The sun, that's affecting all of us, and then Jupiter, of course, is the peak or the pinnacle of this yod, this finger of God, this point of destiny. Now, if you had this in your birth chart, that's one thing. But as we observe it on a transit basis, that's really a different ball game. However, I think every time we point out a yod, somebody emails and says, oh my God, oh my God. So it is this possibility of a clash with destiny or a clash with something appointed, specifically something coming up from the past, the karmic past, the south node. Oh, I remember now. I need to tell you about Robert Hand's reading that I had last week. We'll do that later in the week, but he doesn't give a lot of credence to the nodes. And the reason he said is nobody can agree on what they mean. This is a guy that built his career in astrology around going back to the original documents. He has a PhD in linguistics so that he can go back and reference the ancient documents in their original form. So get the context of his structure when he says there's nothing in antiquity that we can get an agreement or a consensus. And we've seen that in fact, what Robert and I have talked about on Old Soul, New Soul, that there's this kind of new way of interpreting the nodes. There's Robert's way of interpreting the nodes. There's the Vedic way of interpreting the nodes, and they're all different. I think actually for me, what Glasscock says is not that different from kind of the modern. There are some semantics in there, but basically undeveloped karma brought forward. Let's just say that I think we could stay on safe ground and cover all three if we stayed there with the south node. Now, Jupiter is in retrograde, so with Jupiter in retrograde, we are going to revisit this. There's your reword. And then Jupiter in Aries makes it more expanded. It makes it bigger. There's fire here, even though the fire is inward. And remember, a lot of people, myself included, would say that Scorpio is not a water sign. It should be a fire sign because it was originally ruled by Mars. So you've got two heavy components in this yod. And then let's apply Robert's perspective of Virgo and the sixth house, Virgo ruling the sixth house, and make that part of our psychological self-integration. Wow, that really does fit this yod. It fits it perfectly. So it is something that could affect any or collectively a group of people, the sun. It is something that is deep karma, the south node, and Jupiter points toward action. Something needs to be done. And you know my number one tool in these kinds of areas is analyze where it came from in your life, trace it back, and then what's the opposite? What kind of opposite reaction could you have? What kind of other direction could you go? Seinfeld, George does the opposite. I swear, whenever I need a little bit of motivation to engage the opposite, I watch that skit. Now, the structure of this yod, so Jupiter is at 7 degrees. Today, the sun is at 7 degrees, and the south node of the moon is at 15 degrees, moving backward towards 7. So the sun will break the leg of this first, but we're going to be in this at least until that sextile falls out of orb. So we've got about a week here with this yod over our heads. And if you like a little tighter orb, at least give it for the rest of this week. Definitely a subtle but significant aspect over our heads. Now, tomorrow I had a listener question come in about ordering the Honeycomb Collective Almanac, which I mentioned last week that I did for next year. So I'm going to take tomorrow to answer her question. So if you're thinking about it or you just would like to kind of see how to put one of those together, that's what we'll do tomorrow. I'll probably come back and talk about Robert Hand on Thursday. One of the reasons I'm hesitating is I wanted to re-listen to it, and I'm not sure when that's going to happen. But I wanted to take notes on it before I came in here and reported to you. But we'll get back on that. And then probably, Thomas is going to take Friday off. All right? But we'll be back with Merriman on Saturday. Have a great one, and I'll see you tomorrow for Honeycomb Collective Question Day.